Can't get enough sports shorts? Tune into Sports Shorts TV on Cox HD Channel 1013 Mondays at 8, Tuesdays at 9, and ETEL Channel 4. That's 52 weeks a year to get educated on sports by the best. Joel Davis and Ronnie Rance.
And welcome everyone to this week's edition of Sports Shorts TV. Ronnie Rance here with Sports Shorts presented by LeBears Casino in Baton Rouge. We're joined today by a very special guest. The entire show will be visiting with Matt Deggs, the new baseball coach for the Raging Cajuns of UL Lafayette. Coach, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Ronnie.
Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Made the drive across the basin. No major snafus, which is 50-50. So you did good.
Yeah, there was a wreck westbound, but we were headed eastbound.
Very
so
good.
It was good for us.
It has been a whirlwind few weeks for you. I mean, obviously on a personal front, the passing of your dear friend Tony Robichaux, which kind of shocked the baseball world, was tragic. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you find yourself in a conversation about uprooting your family from Texas and coming to Lafayette. If you can kind of encapsulate what it's been like.
I don't know that you can put it in words, man. You know, that I think I said to some people a couple of weeks ago is, you know, everybody's going to pass, everybody's going to die, but Coach Robe just wasn't one of those guys, and that never crossed your mind, and you know, and so it happens, and there's a void there, and there's a void in the program and the university and in the community, and you know, so we felt just a tugging in our heart to come back to this community, and a lot of our heart was here, and we really realized that over the last couple of weeks, especially being at the viewing and the funeral, and just felt like we were called to be here.
I know the past few weeks have kind of been somber and sad and all that. You finally had a chance to bring some joy back into your life and the program's life over the last few days since being named the new baseball coach for the Raging Cajuns. What has that been like and the reception?
Oh, it's been overwhelming. You know, I spoke to a group the other night at the Diamond Club, and just their love has pulled us back over here, literally, you know, and love and redemption are just two incredibly powerful forces. And Coach Robe was the only man in the country to give me a second opportunity, and just felt it our calling, like I said, to come back. And you know, the Cajun family was just waiting with open arms. And it's been overwhelming, really.
Now, you're married, you've got kids, you've got roots over in Texas. You were coaching the last few years at Sam Houston State, a program that's, you know, less than an hour from where you're from. So what was that conversation like with your kids, with your wife? Hey, guys, you know, life as you know it's going to change. What was their reaction?
Well, I mean, an obvious reaction. And when it initially started to happen and Coach got ill and you know, then there was another procedure and you know, and then obviously Coach passed, and I think we knew, Kathy and I just looked at each other, and it's never a job or a situation that we had ever talked about. Obviously, you know, you have those conversations with your spouse from time to time, but you know, UL is Coach Robe's, and that's nothing that we ever pondered or talked about. But when everything kind of happened the way it did, we just kind of looked at each other, and I think we both knew. Obviously, we were very comfortable living in Huntsville, which, like you said, is an hour from Houston. We both grew up there, and the kids really liked it there. But they liked Lafayette. You know, we got the tears when we left Lafayette to go to Huntsville, and you get the tears when you come back. And so I think it's a matter of just getting reacquainted and adjusted, and life will move on.
Let's pull up a picture of Coach Deggs at the press conference with his family. Tell us about your family. How many kids do you have?
We've got 3, and Kyler's a sophomore at Virginia Tech. Claire's going to be a sophomore in high school, and then Chloe, it's actually her birthday today. She's turning 14, and she'll be an 8th grader. So, plus with a great wife. Kind of holds everything together.
What was that moment like? I mean, when you left, they didn't have the new stadium. I mean, the new stadium's incredible.
No, I've got a habit of doing that. You know, when I got fired at A&M, they threw up a brand new stadium. I knew it was in the works. You know, Coach Robe and Bab and those guys have worked extremely hard towards that new stadium. When I left, I knew, you know, one day it was going to happen, and didn't know it would go down as fast as it did. But it's a it's a gorgeous setup. It's got to be one of the top 15 stadiums in the country. It was overwhelming standing there on that balcony, though, up there in the suite level, and be able to take that picture with the family.
I'm sure last week at the press conference when you were introduced, it had to mean a lot for you on a personal level that the Robichaux, obviously, you're very close to. They were excited for you. They were there. Even in all that they're going through, they came as a family to support you at the press conference. What did that mean?
Everything. That's why we're here. And we wouldn't be here had it not been for them. And, wanting us to come back here and to see them there that day I can't even describe the emotion and won't even pretend to know what they were feeling. And, I've spoken all over the country, and that situation, that moment was probably as anxious as I've ever been in my life. If you could have seen behind the podium, the knees were knocking. Because you weren't speaking just for you and your family. You were speaking for Coach, for the Robichaux, for the program, the history of the program, and the university, and the community that he meant so much to.
We're going to take our first break. When we come back, and when you're coming out of the commercial, you'll see a little video that the Raging Cajun shot, kind of welcoming Coach Deggs back into the fold. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about what Tony Robichaux meant to your life, some of the things that you learned from him, and the direction of Raging Cajun baseball. We're visiting with the new head coach, Matt Deggs. We'll be back with more Sports Shorts presented by LeBears.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
If you're an avid sports fan, then you need to check out the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, located in historic downtown Natchitoches, next to the Chateau St. Denis Hotel and the Natchitoches Convention Center. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is where the rich history of Louisiana sports is told through the pictures, artifacts, and by the legends themselves in video archives. Come to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum and visit a world-renowned architectural marvel. For more information and to purchase tickets to the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame events, visit lasportshall.com/purchase.
Introducing the Mercedes-Benz family of vans, including the full-size Sprinter and the mid-size Metris. If these are your wingtips, if this is your gourmet latte, then these are your vans. Vans for professionals. Strictly professionals. Best commercial van residual value according to ALG, and starting at just $25,995. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to...
When you come to Relief Windows, your experience starts here.
Or here.
Then we come to your home.
We measure twice.
And then we bring custom windows to your home.
We remove your old windows. Install your new windows.
Clean our mess.
And we make sure you're completely satisfied.
And all of this before you pay a dime. And at Relief Windows, our #1 product is customer satisfaction.
Relief Windows.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
Can't get enough sports shorts? Tune into Sports Shorts TV on Cox HD Channel 1013 Mondays at 8, Tuesdays at 9, and ETEL Channel 4. That's 52 weeks a year to get educated on sports by the best. Joel Davis and Ronnie Rance.
This is my kind of place, my kind of town, and Coach Robichaux is my kind of guy. Yes, it's true, Coach is not here. But I want you to think about for a second what Coach left us. Think about the history-rich program. He left us this palace, this pearl, and he left us the best fan base in America. We've got no excuses here. Everything that we've ever done, I've seen it before it happened. I've seen it. If you can see it in your mind, believe it in your heart, feel it in your gut, and you wake up before everybody every morning and you punch that card and you outwork them, all things are possible. I'm here to stand up, roll up my sleeves, punch the card, and get back to the business of Raging Cajun baseball. One team, one vision. And I challenge you to stand up with us, lock hand in hand, and let's walk through the gates of Omaha, because that's where we're headed.
It's presented by LeBear's Casino, very special edition, as we're joined by new head coach Matt Deggs of the UL Raging Cajuns, who, after spending some time as an assistant, now back. I mean, that's a great story. You know, rarely does that happen where somebody is an assistant coach, leaves, and gets to come back as a head coach. I mean, and you mentioned it earlier. It wasn't something you really thought about.
No, I'd never really crossed my mind. And, you know, I said
of course, Tony was going to coach till he was 80, right?
I mean, you didn't really think in those terms. Coach was synonymous with UL baseball and Raging Cajun baseball. And I think I said the other day to some reporters, it's a dream job that I never dreamt of having. And, you know, to have the opportunity to come back, understandably, in these circumstances, it's a huge honor to carry Coach's torch.
Let's talk about Sam Houston State for a minute. I mean, you had it really going on over there. Just came off of a conference championship. You know, famously took the Bobcats to the Super Regional a couple years ago and lost at Florida State. And you know, that was a place you loved, and it's the premier job in the Southland Conference, in a state that's rich in tradition and history for, you know, great talent. That it was probably a much harder decision than people realize.
Oh, you're exactly right, Ronnie. I mean, we were home, and you know, we grew up always called Texas home, and especially the Houston area. And Sam Houston is an incredible setup. It's an hour north of Houston. There's you know, tremendous talent in the area. We had great facilities. We had great support, and just had life was very comfortable for us. And I just felt the calling to, as a family, to get uncomfortable. And it was a move that we knew that we had to make.
Have they named a successor yet, or is that still?
No, they're. I think that'll happen in the next day or two.
Staff-wise, you haven't made a whole lot of. You know, oftentimes when a coach gets a job somewhere else, he takes his whole staff with him. You know, you think of in this neck of the woods, David Pierce, when he took the Texas job, when he left Tulane, took all his guys over there to Texas. This was a different scenario, different situation because of your ties here to Raging Cajun land. Prior to the Sam Houston State job, you haven't taken anyone.
It was an incredibly different situation. Mm-hmm. And, you know, my first and foremost, Jay Sirianni, who was my associate head coach at Sam Houston, my mission is for him to become the head coach behind me. And I think that'll happen, and I hope it does happen. And so that's what I wanted for him, and he wanted that. And the coaches loved it there and wanted, you know, to be there. But be that as it may, loyalty is real big to me. And I had worked, you know, obviously Coach Babb and I, we came up together. 25 years we've been knowing each other, been friends, know what kind of job that he's done here. And then JT, Jeremy Talbot, him and I coached together for a while at Texas A&M and had great success together. And then kept hearing Jake Wells, and I know that Coach was super impressed with the job that he had done just from our talks. And so made a commitment from the get-go, wanted to keep the staff intact and add a pitching coach, and we've been, you know, really fortunate to be able to do that.
the pitching coach, there's been a pitching coach sometimes on paper, but it's always been Tony Robichaux, and so now you being more of a hitting guy, you're actually bringing in a real pitching coach from a standpoint of somebody you're going to entrust a lot and turn things over to. And an interesting decision, you went with B.J. Ryan, a guy who, of course, famously from Shreveport area, pitched for the Raging Cajuns, a two-way player in the late 90s, and, of course, two-time All-Star who played in the big leagues. Tell us a little bit about him and why you chose to go in that direction.
Well, I wanted somebody dynamic but still shared a lot of our old school values and blue collar roots, and that describes BJ to a T. He's a very intense competitor that made a name for himself closing games in the big leagues. It's not every day you get to go out and find a guy that's got 117 saves in the big leagues, 11-year career, and like you said, two-time All-Star. And he played at the school that he's going to coach at. And I thought that was super important to keep it in-house, in the family, and bring a guy in from an era where really and truly Coach Robe and those guys were getting their footing on the ground. And BJ's class and all of those guys kind of set the stage for that 2000 World Series team.
I'm sure B.J. Ryan wasn't the only person that reached out to you about, being the pitching coach. I'm sure there were a lot of players, including former players, that reached out to you about a pitching coach. Interesting decision going with a guy with a little bit of, a lack of collegiate pitching coach experience. I know oftentimes, a lot of former players think, well, I could do that. They don't realize what all goes into it, right?
Certainly.
The recruiting, the paperwork, the daily grind, not just the 2 to 5, practice field portion. What made you feel comfortable going in that direction versus somebody who's already been in the college system?
Well, like I said, I wanted somebody connected to the program and somebody that had success coming out of the program and knew what it meant to be a Raging Cajun and had learned under Coach and his system and had pitched here in its heyday and had done a lot of really good things. And when I sat down with BJ and I looked him in the eye, we had about a 2-hour discussion. I knew right then and there. I saw the look in his eye. I saw the intent and his purpose and vision for being here was to coach the pitchers the way that he had been coached here and to kind of follow along in Coach Robe's footsteps and bring back a little bit of that nastiness on the bump. I knew looking in his face, I said, I ain't got to go any further than this.
Yeah, I got to believe, he's about 6'5", right? I mean, he's a
he's
big
every bit of
fella,
that.
intimidating looking, and a fierce competitor. I don't think he'll have any trouble getting the attention of the young men that he's coaching. That's
No,
for
that'll
sure.
happen in short order.
If he says run, they'll say how quick. Let's go back in time a little bit. Your kind of upbringing in the coaching world. Take us through the timeline. I mean, obviously, folks out there know. All right, we spent time at Arkansas, spent time at Texas A&M. But before that, what was your tree?
I was an average player that got to play professionally for 3 years and did what most average players do when it's done, start coaching.
Those who can't coach, right?
Yeah, those who can't coach, and saw the writing on the wall real quick. And one of my good buddies still is Rob Childress, and he was coaching with Dave Van Horn at Northwestern State. And I still have the letter he wrote me. Back then, there was no email or text or anything. He's like, "Dude, come down here. You're not gonna play in the big leagues. Come down here and start coaching. Coach Van Horn will take care of you." He said, "All you got to do is go take the GRE, and if you make an 800, we can pay for some of your schooling." So I was like, I don't know. I want to keep playing. I said, but I tell you what, I'll go take the GRE, and if I pass it, that'll be a sign. So I go take the GRE and got the score back, and it was exactly an 800. And I felt so out of place in that room taking that test. But I made an 800. I told Rob, I said, after the season, I'll see you. So I started coaching with Dave Van Horn and Rob Childress, and what better coaching tree to jump into. But, how are you supposed to know at the time? And left there, 5 years head coach at Texarkana Junior College. Just had a great time, great run. It was a great place to cut your teeth as a young coach. Had to do everything from be the trainer to the scheduler to field maintenance to dorm super, whatever it might be. Left there and went to Arkansas with Coach Van Horn. He came from Nebraska. I came from Texarkana. And then 3 short years later, Rob Childress and I both went for the A&M job. And being best friends, we said, look, whatever happens, we're both going to go. So we showed up, and I spent close to 6 years there. Was fired. And like you said, nobody would touch me, and there was only one guy that would give me a chance.
Before we get to that story, I just want to reference once again, I think probably in the 20-plus years I've been on television and radio, I've told this so many times, the Northwestern State coaching tree. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's something in the water in Natchitoches.
Yeah.
I mean, and I get to spend a lot of time in Natchitoches these days as president of Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, and, of course, they got a wonderful museum right there in downtown Natchitoches. But the number of coaches, you mentioned Van Horn, Childress, Mike Bianco, yourself, Jim Wells, Mitch Gaspard. I'm sure I'm forgetting some others.
Lane Burrows.
Who's at Louisiana Tech now. Is at Mississippi? I mean, John Cohen, who I saw a couple weeks ago. He went there. Doug Ireland retired, and so he was there for
Side note, how many great coaches have come through the Dougie dorm, which I also used to live there.
Were you one of them? That's funny, yeah. The Doug Ireland, who has an extra bedroom that many people have stayed in. And matter of fact, it's funny. Doug Ireland, who's 30 years retired sports information director at Northwestern State, and they had a roast for him a couple weeks ago. And they literally asked, they had about 300 people there at this roast. It was a great night, and John drove in from Mississippi. And they said, raise your hand if you stayed in the Dougie dorm. And, of course, there was a lot of people that couldn't make it. It was actually the day
I was going, and
the day of the
everything,
storm.
you know.
Yeah, the storm and things happened. But the bottom line is that in the room, I think there were at least 15 people that raised their hand. Lord knows how many other people weren't
It's
there.
a long tree.
But anyway, he's got plenty of room at the inn with Doug Ireland.
He probably still does.
No, he does, 100%. And he's got a lot of free time on his hands right now. And actually, funny story about Doug Ireland, he was in Cooperstown for Lee Smith, got into the Pro Baseball Hall of Fame. And, of course, Lee's from North Louisiana and in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. So he went up with Chris Brown, official artist and former Northwestern State pitcher, and they went up to Cooperstown, and then he's headed to Canton to go see Kevin Mawai, Ed Reed, and Johnny Robinson, all Louisiana Sports Hall of Famers. Wow. They're getting inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So life is good to be Doug Ireland these days. But it is incredible that little old Northwestern State in Natchitoches has this tree. I don't know what it is, but it's since 1990. It's amazing.
It's something. It's you get there and like I said, you get to cut your teeth doing a lot of different jobs, wearing a lot of different hats, and it's a great university as well.
You mentioned your time with at Arkansas. When you were at Arkansas and at Texas A&M. You had the opportunity to come to Louisiana often, whether it was to play LSU or someone else, recruiting. You know this area pretty well. What is it about Louisiana baseball and baseball players that are maybe different than, say, Arkansas or some other states?
Louisiana plays a tough brand of baseball, and there are some hard-nosed, blue-collar players that play because they love the game, and they play with a passion. A lot of them play with a chip on their shoulder, and there's a ton of talent down here. I think weather lends to a lot of that, just being able to play most of the year. And, Louisiana is chock full of talent, that's for sure.
You mentioned when you were at Texas A&M, you were unceremoniously fired. It happens to all of us in life. It happened to you. When you were let go by Texas A&M and you looked into the crystal ball of life and tried to figure out what the future would hold, I mean, in your wildest dreams, could you ever imagine 10 years later what it would be like?
No. I mean, it's literally no. At the time, my identity was so absorbed and wrapped in, it was just the very fabric of my being. I'm wrapped into baseball as to the man that I was. And when I was fired, I lost everything. And at the point, I didn't even want to go on. And because that's how much my identity was wrapped into this. I lost my family for a period of time. You lose most of your friends. You lose the game. You lose the players. You lose the coaching staff. But Rob, and I say this all the time, Childress, he didn't fire me. I fired me. I worked as hard as I could work for him, but I was a drunk off the field. And he stuck with me for a year when most people would have kicked me to the curb in an instant. And, gave me every opportunity to get it right, and I just never did. And so I held myself accountable for that. It took a while. And then slowly but surely, God started rebuilding the man that I was and introduced me to Coach Robichaux for a reason.
was it 2006 when the Raging Cajuns went over to the 2007 when the Raging Cajuns went over to College Station, played in that regional. I was there that whole weekend covering it with Cox Sports Television. I remember it very well. I think the Cajuns had 4 or 5 guys that had 10 or more homers in their lineup that year. Could swing it a little bit. Did you know, when did you first meet Coach Robichaux? Obviously you met him in 2006, but was there history before that?
I had met him before. We had a history of playing these guys. Like I said, I was close to Bab, and at Northwestern State we would play these guys. And I had met him. I did not know him, and obviously met him again and didn't visit very long. Anybody that knows Coach Robe on game day, you're not going to get a lot of that. Right. But Bab and Chef and Krug and all those guys, I think we all lifted weights together during that time there, and we were all super close. And I can remember to this day, Bab and I were just talking about it a few days ago. Childress, Coach Rob Childress, he was livid that the Cajuns were coming to our regional, and he couldn't believe they would send a team that dynamic and that good to our regional. We were a 48-win ball club, and they came in and gave us everything we could handle.
So when you're out of coaching, and it's well documented, you did a number of different things, from manual labor to sales. Yeah. But you were a fish out of water. Just just waiting to get back into coaching. Were there any other opportunities besides UL, or was it? Truly,
every door was closed. Not to say that, I visited with Coach Bianco for a period. Visited with Andy Lopez at Arizona. Flew to South Dakota for an interview. I mean, how many guys want to coach baseball in South Dakota? Went to Nashville to an NAIA school. Every junior college, even Texarkana, where we had gone to the World Series, their job was open. They wouldn't even call me back.
Wow.
So there was opportunity, but every one of those doors were closed.
Were any of them willing to tell you to your face why? Or was it just, the conversations just kind of dwindled?
Andy Lopez was super upfront. Coach Bianco, super upfront. And then you get a lot of skirting, and I can appreciate that too. But, yeah, and, in hindsight, I was in no condition to coach anybody.
Were you in denial back then?
100%.
So it wasn't like the story doesn't go that, all right, Texas A&M makes a move, and then all of a sudden you immediately start to get your life right, or
no,
kick
it took
the bottle.
2 years.
It took a while.
It took 2 years, and certainly I was in denial. I was fighting the 5 stages of grief, and I would go through them and get through one and revert back to another. I was angry. I was lost. I was full of guilt, and really it wasn't until my youngest daughter in Lafayette, when we were there, asked to get baptized and asked me to go up there with her, and the preacher said, well, do you want to dunk her under? And I said, no, sir, we're both going under today. And I went under and just left as much of that stuff there as I could, and came up a little bit lighter. And that was the fall of 2012, and that kind of set us on the road to some healing.
Prior to that, an old buddy of yours, Jeremy Talbot, gives you a call, and he reaches out to you and says, hey, there might be some interest here. Tell us how that conversation went down.
JT's got a knack for this now. So he gave me a call before that. I was working at a feed mill, and he says, hey, I've got a really good job selling pharmaceuticals.
That's right.
And I want to introduce you to this really dynamic guy named Tim Lanier. And that's how Tim and I became friends. And so I'm the worst pharmaceutical salesman. I wouldn't even put salesman next to it. I carried around pharmaceuticals legally. And
you got to get past that secretary, that lady at the front.
And I was so bitter at the time. It was like, here. But no, I'm just got chewed out by a doctor, and was leaving, and JT calls. I'm oddly enough pulling into a beer store, and he says, "You're not gonna believe it, because this is the middle of the spring.
Middle of the season.
This doesn't happen."
Right.
And I had been praying and praying for the Lord to open up a job in the spring, and he says, "Dude, Trahan's leaving UL. Nobody knows." And I said, "Jeremy, you call those guys right now and you tell them I'll come there for free."
Right.
And he said, all right. And, I think he called Bab and Coach Robe. And, oddly enough, Coach Robe knew me from that 07 regional, because they had used our dugout and he went inside and read all of the stuff on how we run our offense about the pack.
Mm-hmm.
And that intrigued him.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing led to another, and we're sitting down in a hotel room in San Marcos, and he looks at me and he says, I don't care what you've done, I care what you're going to do.
When he hired you in the middle of the season in 2012, were there any strings attached to it from a standpoint of, hey, this is a trial run, we'll see how you do? Or was it, hey, you're in, from day one?
No, it was, I want the pack offense. And, that team was not playing extremely well at the time and went on to a 23-30 record. So he made a very wise decision in saying, look, I want you to recruit, I want you to evaluate, et cetera, and let's get this thing rolling in the fall. And so came in and kind of got my feet on the ground, had nowhere to live. Anthony Babineau and his family opened up their home to me. I lived with them for 3 or 4 months until I could get reunited with my family, and finally found a home in June of 12 and kind of started making our way.
Well, we'll dive into those next 2 magical seasons with the Raging Cajuns, and then, of course, the decision to go be head coach at Sam Houston State. More with Matt Deggs, the new head coach of the UL Raging Cajuns, right after this.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call AccuTemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
If you're an avid sports fan, then you need to check out the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, located in historic downtown Natchitoches, next to the Chateau Saint Denis Hotel and the Natchitoches Convention Center. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is where the rich history of Louisiana sports is told through the pictures, artifacts, and by the legends themselves in video archives. Come to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum and visit a world-renowned architectural marvel. For more information and to purchase tickets to the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame events, visit lasportshall.com/purchase.
Introducing the Mercedes-Benz family of vans, including the full-size Sprinter and the mid-size Metris. If these are your wingtips, if this is your gourmet latte, then these are your vans. Vans for professionals. Strictly professionals. Best commercial van residual value according to ALG, and starting at just $25,995. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to...
When you come to Relief Windows, your experience starts here.
Or here.
Then we come to your home.
We measure twice.
And then we bring custom windows to your home.
We remove your old windows. Install your new windows.
Clean our mess.
And we make sure you're completely satisfied.
And all of this before you pay a dime. And at Relief Windows, our #1 product is customer satisfaction.
Relief Windows.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call AccuTemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
Can't get enough sports shorts? Tune into Sports Shorts TV on Cox HD Channel 1013 Mondays at 8, Tuesdays at 9, and ETEL Channel 4. That's 52 weeks a year to get educated on sports by the best. Joel Davis and Ronnie Rance.
Welcome back, everyone, to Sports Shorts, presented by LeBear's Casino in Baton Rouge. Joining me is new head coach of the Raging Cajun baseball program, Matt Deggs, the first new head coach since 1994. As of course, Tony Robichaux, 25 years at the helm of the Raging Cajuns. We were talking before the break about how Tony gave you the opportunity in the middle of the season in 2012, but you took over in the middle of the year. It was a losing season. Wasn't really your guys, your plan. You just kind of had to hold the rope for a few months and while you were out on the road recruiting. But now we turn to 2012 fall, 2013 season. You mentioned something in the last segment. You got baptized along with your daughter during that time. And I remember talking to Tony back then about you, and he was high on you from the get-go. And one of the things that he talked about was how you made the team compete, that everything you guys did, you brought, a plan and a strategy. I think the pack mentality to where you were competing in the classroom, the weight room, every little drill you did, you had teams and you competed. And that was at the time, I think Tony needed that and the team needed that.
Yeah, we competed at everything, and we set off and had one of the nastier falls that you've ever seen, and I don't even know if it'd be legal now. I'm kidding. But we competed at everything from the classroom to the weight room to practice to early work. Everything was a competition, and these kids were ultra competitive they were hyper competitive, and especially the ones that we brought back, and then we added the right components JC wise to come in, just athletes and guys that like to work and compete and play hard, and I think what we did was bring a little bit of that dynamic back of what you had seen on the 2000 team and the 99 and some of those teams that 07, just where they played the game full out, fast, hard, and loose with a lot of intensity and a lot of bad intentions behind them.
What is the, I know it's a longer answer, but the short and sweet, how is it that a team goes from not being a home run hitting team to all of a sudden for the couple of years that you were there, you guys were launching balls out of the ballpark at a record pace and in tops in the top 5 in the country. What changed? What was the philosophy behind that?
I think it was really more or less hot bats and steroids that did the. That's what we got accused of.
Yeah, that's what got accused of. I remember. I remember.
No, it was approach driven and being able to get our swing off with what I call violence and get our swing off on time and looking to hit every pitch and with some rhythm and flow and being able to get the bat head in front of the dish. And fortunate we had enough guys that had enough athleticism to them and the ability to make adjustments and things like that, and they learned how to get the bat head out on time and have a great approach, and more than anything they learned how to play for each other. And once they got off results and found a way to play for each other and give themselves up for each other, things just took off.
Is that have you changed that philosophy over the last few years at Sam, or are we going to see that return where you guys are going to try to drive the ball out of the ballpark?
Well, I like a good jack as much as anybody. I call it lengthening and shortening the field. I mean, one thing that a lot of people don't talk about that 13 and 14 team is they could shorten the field on you in a hurry. And so we got a lot of stuff going with our short game, and because we could run as well. And then we're able to mix in some stolen bases, create some pressure, and put ourselves in some really predictable counts. And those guys didn't miss fastballs. And that's our, that's always been our formula. Is we want to spin the game, lengthen it, shorten it, use those two things against the other team, and be able to get after the fastball. And so that doesn't change. Obviously we love to hit the jack, but we've got to be able to shorten the field back down as well.
You had a guy at that time, pretty special. He's gotten up to the big leagues, hovering in AAA right now, Blake Trahan, who Trahan. I don't know, by the way. I don't know. I pick one. It doesn't matter. I've heard his name pronounced 80 million different ways. But Blake, a great kid from Kinder, Louisiana, and unbelievable talent. And you had him as a young pup, his first 2 years in college. Talk about him.
The game was never too fast for him from the word go. And as good and people say this all the time, as good a player as he was a better kid.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's a better man. And he's one of those guys that you can build around. He was the same guy every day, and he happened to be just full of talent. And so, oddly enough, every position player on that team was drafted, signed. And, catcher, first, second, all the way around the horn. All of them signed and were able to go on and play for a paycheck.
You guys were able to get to 58-10 at one point during your time with the Raging Cajuns, number 1 in the country. That was new heights for Tony, for the program. I mean, even though Raging Cajuns had been to the College World Series in 2000, they were the Cinderella. Now you guys were the hunted. You were the Goliath for a while there when you were ranked number one. What do you remember about that time, and maybe how Tony and the program handled success?
It was like we were talking earlier. It'll be the team that every other team for the rest of your career will be measured against, and it was a very loose group, where to the point where you didn't know what was going to happen on any given day, but it was also an incredibly passionate and fun group. And when we pulled through the gate, every day, and it was business. And that season was pressure packed because it got to the point where you couldn't lose, and everybody felt that, but everybody at the same time, and you don't always get this, everybody fed off of it too. And to lose your first game of the year and then win 58 of them and never lose back-to-back games until the last one is just a remarkable feat. I don't know if that can be done again.
The Raging Cajuns win a regional at home, host the Super Regional. And I remember, and this was, obviously it would have been nice to host the Super Regional in the new stadium. But this was the Teague before the renovations. And I remember talking to Ben McDonald, who I believe was there, doing the games and stuff. And I mean, they literally had to put them outside of the press box because of the equipment, and everything was so big. But the atmosphere was incredible, and the atmosphere in the parking lot was just as good as the atmosphere in the stadium. And you've been in a lot of, Texas A&M's wonderful atmosphere, and you've been, the Raging Cajuns have had big crowds and all that. But that was electric, and I know it didn't work out in the favor of the Raging Cajuns. They won game 1, and then Ole Miss won games 2 and 3, and Mike Bianco got to the College World Series for the first time in his career. But that experience, and it's got to stay with you.
Oh, it was incredible. That team finished the regular season as the first mid-major to finish a regular season number 1 in the nation in all 5 polls, and then they were a top 8 seed. And then we're hosting. We get to the first game of a regional, and we lose to Jackson State 1-0. And I got home, and my wife, who doesn't really keep up with baseball that much, I just told myself on the drive home, be in a good mood, be in a good mood, be in a good mood, have a good attitude. I'm talking to myself.
Right.
And I say hello to everybody, and Kathy's sitting on the couch with her arms crossed, and I can tell she ain't happy. And I said, "What's wrong, babe?" And she goes, "Y'all just blew it." So she was fully invested, if that tells you anything. And we climbed our way back out of that hole and won an unbelievable series against Mississippi State to capture it. And I saw a tweet the other day, and you're right, there was as many people in the parking lot as there was in the stadium watching the game. And it was as an electric of an atmosphere as you can find. Obviously, you're going to get one here at the box, but per capita, that's the greatest fan base, I think, in the country.
Well, the last thing, I tell this to people all the time, and LSU is, kind of swallows the college baseball landscape to a certain degree in the state of Louisiana. People don't realize hour away in Lafayette, top 3 in the country the last 3 years in attendance. I mean, that's amazing. 7th, 8th, and 8th, top 8 in the country. For a mid-major and a program that's, in the same state of Louisiana. It's not that big of a state, to have 2 colleges that are top 10 in the country is amazing.
That is a passionate, diehard fan base, and they'll give you heck during the game, and then they'll feed you afterwards. It doesn't get any better than that.
The feed you after part's my favorite. And during, even.
Yeah, you could get a piece of sausage thrown to you, some boudin.
When you made the decision to leave, what were those conversations like with Tony?
He was 100% for it. And, I had never, believe it or not, I had never gotten a job in my life that I had gone for. It was either somebody called me, but it never had applied and had to go through an interview process, never. And there had already been a few jobs during the course of that 13-14 run that I had interviewed for and had opportunities with and passed over again. And so 14 season, like you said, came to a crashing end, and it's something we still think about today. That team could have won a national championship. And so you're a little bit jaded and bitter after the season, and I look up and the Sam Houston State job comes open, and Kathy and I were sitting in our bedroom back there, and I said, "Hey, babe, did you know the Sam Houston job's open?" And she goes, "Well, you're going to go for it, aren't you?" And I said, "Nope." I said, if they want us, they can call us. And she goes, no, you're not. You're going to go for that job, because it was back in the Houston area. And I said, well, I tell you what, I've got Bobby Williams. He's the AD at Sam. I'd interviewed there a long time ago after I was fired. And I said, I got his cell number. This is like 11 o'clock at night. I said, I'll text him. How about that for you? And so that's how I did it. I texted the AD, and one thing led to another, and Lord opened that door, and Coach Robichaux was like, 100% behind it.
Well, the decision you made to go to Sam obviously was the right one for you and your family, and the job you did over there was outstanding. But most people, you think of your time at Sam Houston, they think back to when you guys went to a super regional at Florida State, which for a Southland Conference team to win a regional is a tremendous accomplishment. You guys go take on Mike Martin and Florida State. I want to say my buddy Todd Walker actually did the color for that series, and it didn't go your way. You guys lost, but the press conference afterwards was kind of some of your comments went viral. And if obviously I knew who you were and we knew each other, but for those that weren't aware of who Matt Deggs and Sam Houston is and what they're all about, they got a lesson in that. And we're going to play that clip in a minute, but before we play that clip, take me back to that time and where that came from.
We were on just an incredible run, and our whole thing during that time was it's only impossible until somebody does it. And this team was really tight-knit, a lot of same characteristics as the 14 team. Great leadership, guys played gritty, guys played hard, guys played for each other. And we were able to take down Texas Tech and Arizona both twice apiece. And in the Lubbock Regional, which that probably pound for pound was the toughest regional in the nation. And so we had captured the hearts and minds and imaginations of not only an area or a region, but it was starting to become national. And, so we get to Florida State, and we've got a 3-run lead in the 7th. First game, we're going to win. We're going to Omaha, and they wind up tying it up against us, and with 2 outs, and ultimately walk us off. We didn't blink, didn't flinch. We had just done it at Tech out of the losers bracket. We thought we were coming back and winning, and so next morning I wake up in the hotel room, and kids are in the room next door, and Kathy's still asleep. I'm doing my devotional, and I just feel the nudging of the Lord, and He's just telling me, tell your story, and I'm obviously so competitive and still egotistical that I thought, oh, my God, we're going to Omaha. I said, Lord, I'll tell the whole thing when we get to Omaha. Well, I'm not the quickest guy in the world, but it wasn't until it was like 18-19 to nothing we're getting beat.
Right.
That night, after 8 hours worth of rain delays, the light bulb go off, and it's like, oh, you want it now. And so we get in this huge media room, and the kids, just the players with me, who are all second-chance guys as well, they're just speaking from the heart, and everybody's crying, and we captured a country with the love that we had for each other, being able to stand up in the midst of a 19-0 defeat and declare that this game's so much more than just a score. And I thought the press conference was over, and at the end, a reporter asked my thoughts, essentially, and that's how you got what you got.
Well, here's a little over 2 minutes long. This was what, 2017, Coach?
2017.
2017 Super Regional, Sam Houston State at Florida State. Matt Deggs, take a listen.
For years I was a transactional coach. What can I get? What can I get? And when you get fired, it humbles you. I spent 430 days outside the game. Everybody asked, you were here with the Aggies in 2011. No, I wasn't. I was fired. And I just sit there and watch the Aggies play. And God has brought me full circle and changed my life. I was dead, and He saved me. And so I'm a transformational coach now. It's not about wins or losses. It's about love. It's about building men, building relationships that'll last forever. I got a second chance. This guy's a second chance guy. This guy's a second chance guy. This guy's a second chance guy. We're about building people up. It's not Mission Omaha. It's mission build and save lives. And that's what we're in the business of doing. This is the most unselfish, selfless group of men and families I've ever been around. This is rare in this day and age. Rare in a microwave society where it's all about entitlement and all about when do I get to play. This guy's playing with a broken left hand right now. Nobody knows that. His left hand's broken. Last year he played with a broken wrist. Last year Taylor Bean played with a broken thumb. I won't even get into the rest of the litany of injuries that are going on with this team right now. Andrew Frigier just walked up to me in the dugout and said, "Give my last at bat to Nate Van Dyke." Robbie Rojas gave up his last at bat so Hunter Sutherland could catch. You know, there is no greater honor, and this is, I could preach. It's what I wish our country would get back to. There's no greater honor than to sacrifice for a brother. And that encapsulates and embodies this team to a T. That's why they're so lovable.
Powerful comments from Matt Deggs right after the Super Regional in 2017. And since that moment, when you kind of opened up and told the world your story, life off the field has really changed. I mean, you told me you've done over 75 speaking engagements around the country, talking about your faith and your struggles and everything, leadership and all that. You've written a book. Tell us about the book and where folks can see it.
It's 15 to 28, and the title kind of comes out at the end. And it's just my life story and my testimony, and it's a testament to God's love, power, and redemption, and going from a broken man to where he's brought us now, and that if I can do it, I promise you, you can do it. And that's why I love to share either through the book or my testimony, because everywhere you speak, there's going to be somebody there that feels unworthy or lost or broken. And I promise you that it's going to be okay.
There's a lot of good information. Go to CoachDeggs.com, CoachDeggs, DEGGS.com, and there's some good videos and information on there. You can get the book and hear more about Coach Deggs' testimony. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap things up. Sports Shorts presented by LeBears. We'll be back right after this.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call AccuTemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
If you're an avid sports fan, then you need to check out the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, located in historic downtown Natchitoches, next to the Chateau Saint Denis Hotel and the Natchitoches Convention Center. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is where the rich history of Louisiana sports is told through the pictures, artifacts, and by the legends themselves in video archives. Come to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum and visit a world-renowned architectural marvel. For more information and to purchase tickets to the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame events, visit lasportshall.com/purchase.
Introducing the Mercedes-Benz family of vans, including the full-size Sprinter and the mid-size Metris. If these are your wingtips, if this is your gourmet latte, then these are your vans. Vans for professionals. Strictly professionals. Best commercial van residual value according to ALG, and starting at just $25,995. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to...
When you come to Relief Windows, your experience starts here.
Or here.
Then we come to your home.
We measure twice.
And then we bring custom windows to your home.
We remove your old windows. Install your new windows.
Clean our mess.
And we make sure you're completely satisfied.
And all of this before you pay a dime. And at Relief Windows, our #1 product is customer satisfaction.
Relief Windows.
Heater Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
Can't get enough sports shorts? Tune into Sports Shorts TV on Cox HD Channel 1013 Mondays at 8, Tuesdays at 9, and ETEL Channel 4. That's 52 weeks a year to get educated on sports by the best. Joel Davis and Ronnie Rance.
Welcome back to the special edition of Sports Shorts presented by LeBear's Casino and Hotel in Baton Rouge. Coach Matt Deggs has been kind enough to spend the last hour with us, telling us his story and looking forward to the future of UL Raging Cajun baseball. And Coach, we've got about a minute left, and before we let you go, I know this is an exciting time for you and your family. At the same time, I'm sure everything you do moving forward, there'll always be a little bit of Tony Robichaux in your mind in this program. Final thought on what's your biggest takeaway of what he taught you and what you're going to take with you into your program moving forward?
Well, he was a boss, a mentor, and ultimately became one of my best friends, and I miss my buddy. And it's like I said, it's lonely. There's a void there, and but I will tell you this: he personally rebuilt me, and I wouldn't be here. My family wouldn't be here with me if it wasn't for Coach Robichaux. And the best thing I can tell you is I'm not going to let him down at anything I do.
Well, I know the Raging Cajun fans are excited. This was a slam dunk hire. I know everybody is looking forward to the future, including the Robichaux family. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Ron.
it, Matt.
Good to see you.
Great seeing you.
Yeah.
Go check out CoachDeggs.com, everybody, for some great info, and make sure you get your Raging Cajun season tickets next year. Going to be exciting times in Lafayette. Sports Shorts presented by LeBear's.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.
If you're an avid sports fan, then you need to check out the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, located in historic downtown Natchitoches, next to the Chateau Saint Denis Hotel and the Natchitoches Convention Center. The Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame is where the rich history of Louisiana sports is told through the pictures, artifacts, and by the legends themselves in video archives. Come to the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum and visit a world-renowned architectural marvel. For more information and to purchase tickets to the annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame events, visit lasportshall.com/purchase.
Introducing the Mercedes-Benz family of vans, including the full-size Sprinter and the mid-size Metris. If these are your wingtips, if this is your gourmet latte, then these are your vans. Vans for professionals. Strictly professionals. Best commercial van residual value according to ALG, and starting at just $25,995. Mercedes-Benz. Vans. Born to...
When you come to Relief Windows, your experience starts here.
Or here.
Then we come to your home.
We measure twice.
And then we bring custom windows to your home.
We remove your old windows. Install your new windows.
Clean our mess.
And we make sure you're completely satisfied.
And all of this before you pay a dime. And at Relief Windows, our #1 product is customer satisfaction.
Relief Windows.
Heater outages hurt everyone. Don't be a victim. Call Accutemp and schedule your maintenance check today.